Today I'll be presenting the Founders Tool. This tool takes raw data all the way to forecasting, valuation, and cap table, and allow the company to be ready for fundraising. To set up your company, you gotta put in a company name, the financial year end, the operating and reporting currency, plus the other details that's related to your company. To upload your financial data, you can go through Xero, QuickBooks, or through the CSV file. For the operating metrics, we also provide the template for what is expected to be uploaded. When everything is uploaded, you can see it in the financial and operating metrics view. We start by forecasting the revenue and the cost. To start modeling out the revenue, you gotta put in the users as a base and also the pricing structure for each tier. Then you also allocate the starting customer base into each tier. Next, you'll be forecasting the new user acquired per year, and also the retention and migration matrix. Finally, you can see how your user forecasts look like. For the cost modeling, fill in the three categories over here. When everything is done, in the Results tab, you can see the graphs of what you have filled up. You can see the revenue graph, the cost graph, the unit economics on per user basis, the related SaaS metrics, and finally the breakdown in accounting terms. To forecast your payroll costs, you start by putting in the active currencies needed if you hire globally. Then you fill in the headcount plan for existing employees, new hires, and dynamic hires. You can break down what you have filled up in a department split and also a dashboard view. After that, we forecast the vendor costs for the operating expenses. For each vendor, we can categorize them into 4 different deal types. We have the one-time, the milestone, the recurring, and the dynamic. You can also categorize it as a capex and depreciate it. Then you can see the dashboard for it. For a deeper analysis, we can go to the drill down section. The working capital section will pull out data from what you have filled out before. However, you still need to fill in the DSO and the DPO. Then to forecast your financing, you gotta put in the borrowings and the equity rounds that you plan to do. Finally, we can see the cash flow projections. And you can do a sensitive analysis for your burn rate. In the use of proceeds section, you pull in the P&L and the cash flow data from before. Then you can see how much you want to raise depending on your runway period. Furthermore, you can download a one-pager slide and send it out to investors. In the valuation tool, you can see several ways to value your company. And you can see a snapshot of how it is being valued. In the pro forma cap table, you fill in the day 0 cap table. Then you fill in the past and the future rounds. Now you can see the evolution of each rounds. And you can see your pro forma cap table fully diluted. We can also model out the ESOP and how much to give to each employee over time. Then you can see the vesting schedule. And also the compensation breakdown. Finally, we can model out the exit case for a company using the price to sales and the EV/EBITDA multiple. We have a feature to add in investors and stakeholders for sharing information. For the email report, you can select which day you want, and also which metrics to include. Finally, you can have an email preview. And then you can save the schedule and it will be sent out every month.